I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're taking a deep dive with Dr. Kelly Bohnhoff. She has written a powerful book. It is called What's Going On with My Family? A roadmap to healing trauma, unlocking your hidden power, and remembering what is sacred. Join us right now as we uncover the untapped power within your family's lineage to reveal transformative practices for breaking free from cycles of trauma. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her delightful book and her important book. The links are below this interview. Kelly, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. It's wonderful to be here.
Let's talk about first, what is family trauma? What types of trauma are we talking about?
Well, for me, in my own experience, trauma is any life event that causes distress or shock to an individual or a family. So it's that mental, emotional, physical shock that disconnects us from our alignment, balance, and connection to our sacred nature or our soul. So really, trauma is defined, I know, in psychology in many different ways. And there's a lot of symptoms around post-traumatic stress disorder or complex PTSD or family trauma. But to me, since we're all energy, what I didn't know and what I uncovered in this journey is that there are energetic fields around our hearts and around our families that have been maintained forever. And so trauma really is a single life event, or from what I've noticed, multiple life events within a family that keeps them pulled into themselves, into their status quo. And they just don't recognize that they have what they need to heal from within. And that hidden power is sacred.
Now, are we talking about physical abuse, verbal abuse, estrangement, or all of the above and more?
Yeah, all of the above. We could also, we talk about the big things in the world right now that we're seeing. So for me, the world is actually not broken. It's becoming. So the world is healing. We have to see what it is we no longer prefer to be engaged with. So physical, sexual, emotional abuse and neglect is one, but we could also look at the pandemic. The pandemic itself was very isolating for people and families. So I have cared for many, many, many children and teens and families. And, even if a trauma does happen to a family, it doesn't affect every individual the same way. So in the end, trauma is a life event that causes shock or distress to the person as they experience it. So I try not to box people in on what trauma is.
Right, exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, one person can be raised in the same household as another person. Dad might be an alcoholic, he might be abusive at times. One's perfectly functional, the other one is dysfunctional as a result. So different people have different reactions. I think that's very true. Talk to us about the 7 superpowers of family.
Yeah, this is very powerful. So the book is really written in a more empowering light. So even in my training, I noticed that we use a lot of disempowering words. So we talk about being toxic or dysfunctional, or we give labels to narcissism or bipolar. And, these labels really keep us stuck. So for myself, I also went through some mental, psychological labeling in my own lifetime. And so it does keep you feeling a little limited. So this book is really written from the perspective of the empowering gifts and the superpowers we have. So the very first superpower that families have is belief. So when they believe that they can heal, that they are able to heal, well, that is the beginning of that superpower. So we have to believe that we are able to heal. That's key. The second is discovery. So self-discovery or know thyself is very, very important. So as individuals are self-discovering, the family as the unit is discovering their hidden power, which I refer to as resilience, wisdom, and genius, because our families have these hidden powers within our ancestry. The third is exploration. So this is exciting because now families, after believing and discovering, they can explore now. Where is the family's joy? And where is that joy being experienced together? The next one is integration. So we have to be able to notice and love our human nature that has kept us alive in this experience, and then integrate it with our sacred nature. And that takes a little bit of time to what I call to feel or not to feel, right? It takes us a while to be able to feel our feelings. So to even know that we're integrating that human and sacred nature. Then we have to figure out how to navigate. Right now, the world feels a little chaotic. I call this the chrysalis energy. So right now we're all in this kind of recovering caterpillars. So the cocoon is that chrysalis energy, and we're able then to navigate our way through that with compassion, love, and forgiveness. Transformation is the next one. And so as we begin to transform within that chrysalis energy, we're now able to move into the most powerful superpower, which is co-creation. So we do co-create our reality, and we can do that as individuals, and we can also do that as a family. And so those are the 7 superpowers of family.
Wonderful. Well explained. Talk to me about the sacred nature that you referred to. Is this a spiritual thing, a religious thing? Tell me about that. A divine thing?
Yeah, so for me, I was raised in a Southern Baptist religious tradition. And in 2021, just right after the pandemic, I had my own spiritual awakening through a dream. And so when I refer to sacred, you notice the word sacred has kind of been lost in translation somewhere. I don't really hear the word sacred very much. It is coming back online. So sacred is that infinite intelligence, pure love, and sacred energy that we all are. So this is the soul, the spirit. And so when we're little, up to the age of 7, I think it occurs earlier than that, we become disconnected, so misaligned. Whenever we hit what I call the shark tank of energy, it's really heavy when we're little, and we're looking around to see what do we have to do to survive, and our sacred nature goes into the back seat, because we have got to be able to stay on deck in order later to go through the journey to remember that we are sacred. We are part of and interconnected with the divine creator. So this is the biggest wound that humanity is healing, is this misunderstanding of separation. We're not separated, we're interconnected.
In practical terms, what are some steps that people can take today to begin unraveling their family's cycle of trauma?
Well, the first thing is just to remember that you can. So just to have that in your mind, that I can interrupt this, what I call the old echo, or the old energy, the heavier energy. So that's old. We're moving into the new energy. So the very first thing I learned to do was this: stop and be still. If there is something happening that seems to be coming off the rails, spicy words, people are getting pretty animated. So I stop, I drop into 3 breaths, and I be in that present moment. I'm in a conscious awareness at that point, and I move into something I call compassionate witness. So rather than looking at it as something I'm entangled with, so kind of a cosmic game of Twister, right? Everybody's entangled and enmeshed and all of that. What I do is I choose in that moment to just be curious about it. So imagine myself sitting in a movie theater, which I love movies, and I'm going to watch the movie. I'm going to watch the plot twist. And so that is stop, drop, and be has been very helpful in my own life and in helping generations of my own family to heal.
Sounds like great advice. Pull yourself back away from the situation. Don't be emotionally invested in it in the moment. Observe it as a stranger would observe it, and you'll get better perspective. I think pretty much that's what you said.
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, the transforming the traumas and overcoming them transforms not only individual lives, but has a wider impact on the community and future generations of the family as well, correct?
Correct. And so when we talk about the microcosm of the macrocosm, if we think about ourselves as energy, which we all are, just imagine this as a quantum broadcasting system. So if I'm broadcasting fear, then I'm just broadcasting fear, and all that around me is fear. And so and everybody's a little bit afraid around me. If I am able to then have courage, which is, I believe, the turning point, to be willing to consider broadcasting something different. And that could be just as simple as gratitude, what you're thankful for today. That energy begins to broadcast. So without telling my family at all, in my own spiritual awakening, I began to learn how to feel again. And I also learned how to broadcast differently. And I started to notice that they started to shift. So as I shift, which I called the sacred healing of individual and family trauma, as I owned my shift, and I was able to hold my own light and clear shadow, then I noticed it broadcasted straight into the marriage, straight into my relationships with my children and grandchildren, and then straight into my family. And I didn't realize that. And I realized then that all of the families, I started noticing patterns that I talk about. And in the book, I talk about the merry-go-round of survival. So what I've noticed is we all, unfortunately or fortunately, it is a journey, we're learning, we unknowingly are on the merry-go-round of survival. And once we choose to transform that merry-go-round, we don't get off the merry-go-round, everything happens in cycles. But as we transform that broadcast, we noticed magic, miracles were occurring in our family without one therapy session. So
Wonderful.
it's a beautiful idea, and it does work.
Do you think, final question for you, do you think it's a good idea sometimes just to let it go, that mom and dad did the best they could under the circumstances and the knowledge and the body of information they had at the time? And no, my childhood wasn't perfect. Maybe I got hit too much. Maybe I didn't get hit at all, or maybe I was disciplined too much, whatever the trauma was, and just kind of forgive, or definitely forgive, and try to forget. Do you think that's a good idea?
You know, Logan, from a psychological perspective, letting go is a great idea. Here's what I would say about it in my own personal experience. What really transformed that for me in my own life is that the moment I realized I didn't have a family life, that my family is life itself. And once I realized that, the letting go was followed quickly by compassion, followed quickly by forgiveness, followed quickly by love and understanding. And so it was kind of a two-move maneuver for me. So it's one thing to say, I'm just going to let go of it. Things happened. But what really set me into this new space of love for them and me and everyone else in this world who is walking their way home is they are life as well as I am on their journey.
Wonderful. Well said. Great advice. Well put. The name of the book is What's Going On with My Family, a roadmap to healing trauma, unlocking your hidden power, and remembering what is sacred. It's more than a book that explores the problems of the family. It actually gives you solutions and methods to overcome the past hurts and the past traumas. It's written by Dr. Kelly Bohnhoff, and as you heard today, she really knows her stuff. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan.
Pleasure's all mine. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.